Welcome! Today, we're diving into the world of consent orders. If you've ever heard the term, but weren't quite sure what it meant, you're in the right place. Consent orders are important legal tools used in various situations, from family law to business disputes. They play a crucial role in resolving conflicts without the need for a lengthy trial. In this video, we'll break down exactly what a consent order is, why it matters, and how it can impact those involved. Let's start by understanding the basics before moving into more detailed examples and scenarios. A consent order is a legal agreement that is approved and made official by a court. Unlike a typical court order, which is imposed by a judge after a hearing or trial, a consent order is based on the mutual agreement of the parties involved. This means both sides have negotiated and agreed on the terms, and then asked the court to formalize their agreement. Consent orders are commonly used in family law, such as divorce settlements, but can also appear in civil and business disputes. The key point is that both parties consent to the terms, making the process more collaborative and often less adversarial. So, how does a consent order actually work? Once both parties reach an agreement, they draft the terms and submit them to the court. The judge reviews the agreement to ensure it's fair and reasonable. If approved, the court issues a consent order, making the agreement legally binding. This means that if either party fails to follow the terms, the other can ask the court to enforce the order. Consent orders help avoid lengthy court battles and provide a clear, enforceable resolution. They're especially useful when parties want to maintain some control over the outcome rather than leaving everything up to a judge. Consent orders are especially common in family law cases. For example, when a couple divorces, they might agree on how to divide property, handle child custody, or arrange financial support. Instead of arguing these issues in court, they can negotiate terms privately and submit their agreement as a consent order. The court reviews the agreement to ensure it's fair to everyone involved, especially children. Once approved, the consent order has the same legal force as any other court order. This approach often reduces stress and conflict, making the process smoother for families. Consent orders aren't just for family matters, they're also used in business and civil disputes. Imagine two companies disagreeing over a contract. Instead of going through a lengthy trial, they might negotiate a settlement and ask the court to issue a consent order reflecting their agreement. This makes the settlement enforceable by law. If either company fails to uphold their end of the deal, the other can return to court for enforcement. Consent orders provide a practical way to resolve disputes efficiently, saving time and legal costs for everyone involved. Let's look at some key features of consent orders. First, they are voluntary. Both parties must agree to the terms. Second, they become legally binding once approved by the court. Third, they can cover a wide range of issues, from financial settlements to parenting arrangements. Finally, consent orders are enforceable, meaning the court can step in if someone doesn't comply. These features make consent orders a flexible and powerful tool for resolving disputes without the stress of a full trial. The process of getting a consent order usually starts with negotiation. Both parties discuss and agree on the terms, often with the help of lawyers or mediators. Once an agreement is reached, the terms are written up and submitted to the court. The judge reviews the agreement to ensure it's fair and reasonable. If everything checks out, the judge signs off, and the consent order becomes official. This process is generally faster and less expensive than going to trial, making it a popular choice for many people. The court's role in a consent order is to review and approve the agreement. Judges don't just rubber stamp any agreement. They make sure the terms are fair, legal, and in the best interests of everyone involved. In family law, for example, the court pays special attention to the welfare of children. If the judge finds the agreement reasonable, they issue the consent order. If not, they may ask for changes or even reject the agreement. This oversight helps protect the rights of all parties. One of the biggest advantages of a consent order is that it's enforceable by law. If one party doesn't follow the terms, the other can ask the court to enforce the order. This might involve penalties or other legal consequences. The enforceability of consent orders gives both parties confidence that their agreement will be respected. It also encourages compliance, since there are real consequences for breaking the order. This legal backing is a key reason why consent orders are so effective. It's important to understand the difference between a consent order and a regular court order. A court order is imposed by a judge after a hearing or trial, often without the agreement of both parties. In contrast, a consent order is based on mutual agreement and simply formalized by the court. Both are legally binding, but the process and spirit behind them are different. Consent orders are generally less adversarial and can lead to better long-term outcomes because both parties have had a say in the terms. Consent orders offer several benefits. They save time and money by avoiding lengthy court battles. They also give parties more control over the outcome, since the terms are negotiated rather than imposed. Consent orders can help preserve relationships, especially in family or business settings, by reducing conflict. Finally, they provide certainty and enforceability, so everyone knows where they stand. These advantages make consent orders a popular choice for resolving disputes. While consent orders have many benefits, there are some drawbacks to consider. For one, both parties must be willing to negotiate and compromise. If there's a significant power imbalance, or one side feels pressured, the agreement might not be truly fair. Also, if circumstances change after the order is made, it can be difficult to modify the terms without going back to court. It's important to approach consent orders thoughtfully and seek legal advice if needed. Consent orders are best used when both parties are willing to work together to resolve their dispute. They're ideal for situations where negotiation is possible and both sides want to avoid a drawn-out court process. Common scenarios include divorce settlements, business disputes, and civil matters where a compromise can be reached. If there's a lot of hostility or a lack of trust, a consent order might not be the best option. In those cases, a traditional court order may be necessary. Anyone involved in a legal dispute can potentially apply for a consent order as long as both parties agree on the terms. In family law, this might be divorcing spouses. In business, it could be two companies or business partners. The key requirement is mutual agreement. Once the terms are set, the parties submit their agreement to the court for approval. It's always wise to consult a lawyer to ensure the agreement is fair and legally sound. Drafting a consent order involves carefully outlining the agreed terms in clear, precise language. Both parties, often with the help of their lawyers, work together to make sure every detail is covered. The draft should address all relevant issues, such as property division, payments, or responsibilities. Once the draft is complete, it's submitted to the court for review. A well-drafted consent order helps prevent misunderstandings and ensures the agreement is enforceable. Once a consent order is submitted, the court reviews it to ensure it meets legal standards. The judge checks that the terms are fair and that both parties understand what they're agreeing to. In family cases, the court pays special attention to the interests of any children involved. If the judge is satisfied, they approve the order and it becomes legally binding. If not, the court may request changes or clarification before approval. Sometimes, circumstances change after a consent order is made. If both parties agree, they can ask the court to modify the order. However, if only one party wants a change, they'll need to show the court that there's a good reason, such as a significant change in circumstances. The court will review the request and decide whether to approve the modification. This process ensures that consent orders remain fair and relevant over time. If one party doesn't follow the terms of a consent order, the other can ask the court to enforce it. The court may order the non-compliant party to fulfill their obligations or face penalties. Enforcement actions can include fines, asset seizure, or even jail time in extreme cases. The possibility of enforcement gives consent orders real power and encourages everyone to stick to the agreement. Mediation is a common way to reach a consent order. In mediation, a neutral third party helps both sides negotiate and find common ground. Once an agreement is reached, it can be turned into a consent order and submitted to the court. Mediation is often less stressful and more collaborative than going to trial, making it a great option for many disputes. Arbitration is another way to resolve disputes that can lead to a consent order. In arbitration, an independent arbitrator listens to both sides and helps them reach an agreement. If both parties agree, the terms can be formalized as a consent order. This gives the agreement the same legal force as a court order, providing certainty and enforceability. Many legal disputes end in settlement. When both parties agree on a settlement, they can ask the court to issue a consent order reflecting the terms. This makes the settlement legally binding and enforceable. Consent orders provide a formal way to turn a private agreement into a court-backed resolution, giving both sides peace of mind. Let's look at some real-world examples. In a divorce, a consent order might outline how assets are divided and who gets custody of the children. In a business dispute, it could specify payment terms or how intellectual property is handled. These examples show how flexible consent orders can be, adapting to the needs of different situations while providing legal certainty. Consent orders are often used to formalize parenting arrangements after a separation. Parents can agree on where the children will live, visitation schedules, and how decisions will be made. The court reviews the agreement to ensure it's in the best interests of the children. Once approved, the consent order provides a clear, enforceable plan for everyone to follow. In property settlements, consent orders can specify how assets and debts are divided. This might include real estate, savings, investments, and personal property. By agreeing on the terms and formalizing them in a consent order, both parties gain certainty and avoid future disputes. The court ensures the division is fair before approving the order. Consent orders can also be used to formalize financial agreements, such as spousal maintenance or child support. The parties agree on payment amounts and schedules. and the court reviews the terms to ensure they're fair and reasonable. Once approved, the consent order provides a clear, enforceable financial plan. Workplace disputes, such as disagreements between employers and employees, can also be resolved with consent order. Both sides negotiate terms, such as compensation or working conditions, and submit the agreement to the court. This approach helps maintain a positive working relationship and ensures the agreement is enforceable. In civil litigation, parties can settle their dispute and ask the court to issue a consent order reflecting the settlement. This avoids the need for a trial and provides a legally binding resolution. Consent orders in civil cases can cover a wide range of issues, from monetary payments to specific actions that must be taken. Sometimes, parties want their agreement to remain confidential. Consent orders can include confidentiality clauses, ensuring that the details of the agreement aren't made public. This is especially important in business disputes or sensitive family matters. The court will enforce these clauses as part of the consent order. Consent orders usually bind only the parties who signed the agreement. However, in some cases, third parties may be affected or included if they agree to the terms. For example, a business consent order might involve suppliers or partners. The court ensures that everyone involved understands and agrees to the terms before approving the order. Consent orders can sometimes have international implications, especially in family law or business disputes involving parties in different countries. Courts may recognize and enforce foreign consent orders under certain conditions. It's important to seek legal advice if your agreement crosses borders, as different countries have different rules about enforcement. While it's possible to draft a consent order without a lawyer, legal representation is highly recommended. Lawyers can help ensure the terms are fair, clear, and enforceable. They can also advise on your rights and obligations, helping you avoid mistakes that could cause problems later. Investing in legal advice can save time and trouble in the long run. Some people choose to represent themselves when applying for a consent order. While this can save money, it's important to be thorough and make sure the agreement is clear and complete. Courts may provide resources or forms to help self-represented parties, but legal advice is still a good idea, especially for complex matters. When children are involved, the court's top priority is their best interests. Consent orders related to parenting or child support are carefully reviewed to ensure they meet this standard. The court may reject an agreement if it doesn't adequately protect the children's welfare. This safeguard helps ensure that consent orders serve everyone fairly. Spousal maintenance, or alimony, can be formalized through a consent order. Both parties agree on the amount and duration of payments, and the court reviews the terms for fairness. Once approved, the consent order ensures that both parties know their rights and obligations, providing financial stability after a separation. Child support arrangements can also be included in a consent order. Parents agree on payment amounts and schedules, and the court ensures the terms are in the child's best interests. This provides a clear, enforceable plan for supporting children after a separation, reducing the risk of disputes. Property transfers, such as transferring ownership of a house or car, can be included in a consent order. The agreement specifies who gets what, and the court ensures the transfer is fair. This helps avoid confusion and provides a clear record of the agreed terms. Debt division is another issue that can be addressed in a consent order. Both parties agree on who is responsible for which debts, and the court reviews the terms for fairness. This helps prevent future disputes and ensures everyone knows their obligations. Some consent orders include ongoing obligations, such as regular payments or continued cooperation. The agreement should clearly outline these responsibilities, and the court ensures they're reasonable. Ongoing obligations are enforceable, giving both parties confidence that the terms will be followed. Consent orders often include provisions for resolving future disputes. This might involve mediation or arbitration if disagreements arise. Including dispute resolution clauses helps prevent future conflicts and provides a clear process for handling issues that come up later. Consent orders can include terms for termination, specifying when the agreement ends or under what conditions it can be dissolved. This might be after a certain period or when specific obligations are met. Clear termination clauses help both parties understand their rights and responsibilities. Appealing a consent order is possible, but it's usually difficult since both parties agreed to the terms. Appeals are generally only allowed if there was fraud, duress, or a significant legal error. The court will review the circumstances carefully before deciding whether to overturn the order. Legal costs for consent orders are usually lower than for contested court cases. Since both parties are working together, there's less need for lengthy hearings or trials. However, there may still be fees for legal advice, drafting documents, and court filing. It's important to budget for these costs when considering a consent order. The time frame for obtaining a consent order varies depending on the complexity of the agreement and the court's schedule. Simple cases may be approved quickly, while more complex matters can take longer. Planning ahead and being prepared can help speed up the process. It's important to keep a copy of your consent order and any related documents. This provides proof of the agreement and helps resolve any future disputes. Courts may also keep official records, but having your own copy is always a good idea. To sum up, a consent order is a powerful legal tool that allows parties to resolve disputes by mutual agreement with the backing of the court. It's used in a variety of situations, from family law to business disputes, and offers many benefits, including flexibility, enforceability, and reduced conflict. However, it's important to approach consent orders thoughtfully, ensuring the terms are fair and legally sound. With the right preparation and advice, consent orders can provide a clear, lasting solution for many legal issues.